And even though people say it's possible, because we hear this all the time, you can do it, you can make money, you can do this, you got it, you're amazing, you're brilliant. I don't care what nobody say. Until you're able to prove it for self, that's when it becomes real. And when I began to put myself out there in the first 60 days online, I made over $20,000.
What's up, family? Thank you for tuning in to the DreamNation podcast. My name is Casanova. I'll be your host, and I'm excited to be bringing to you entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and trailblazers from around the world. Stay locked in with us because we're about to go on a journey that will change your life. What's up, Dream Builder? We are back again, and in today's episode, we're talking to the famous, the myth, the legend, Miss Audria Richmond. Audria, you want to go ahead and say what's up to Dream Nation?
Yes. Hello, Dream Nation. What's up? My name is Audria Richmond, so I'm super excited to be here with you all today.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a fun combo. Look, now, for anybody who doesn't know, I would say that you probably, in 2021 especially, you've been living under a rock. But even in 2020, I mean, you bust out of the gates and it was like, yo, where's she been all my life? If I'm trying to figure out how I can up my game, if I can just marketing, being authentically who you are, I think that's why so many people have attracted to you. And so we all see that now from the outside looking in, we see this Wonder Woman, this Superwoman. But tell us on the backside of that, who is that Lois Lane? Like who is the Audria Richmond?
So, I mean, outside of the business stuff, I am a wife, I am a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, auntie, all of those cool things. But at my core, I'm just a person who wanted a better life, wanted to, because really, when I was growing up, I wasn't really given like a playbook. Some people are fortunate enough to have parents who like go to school, go to this, da da da. My folks weren't like that. They were just like, if you graduated, you made it. That was like the epitome of made it. So as far as I'm concerned, when I got out of high school, I really didn't know who I was a lot. I just knew that I wanted something different. You know how you in an environment, you don't know what you need, you just know you need something different. So when I think about who I am, I think I've always been a person that's been like super ambitious around wanting to like hustle and make money, and I've always been naturally curious. So I guess you could say at my core, I am truly an entrepreneur at heart.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now, when you were growing up, were your other friends, like when you were trying all these different things, did you feel like you were in an anomaly? Did you feel like your parents were like, why you
Absolutely.
don't ever?
Yeah, all my friends was like, "Why you always doing this?" People was like, "Why you always trying to sell me something?" Or "Why you always trying to make some?" And then it got to the point, you know how it is. People like, "Okay, what's your hustle today? Tell me what you're selling me today." Like people begin to start looking for things, but then it's funny because when you first get started in business, it all starts as a hustle. We
Mhm.
all want to like make money on the side outside of our 9 to 5, and it just like it becomes that hustle. And then eventually I was like, no, I want to build a business. Like I want to build a legit business. And I think that it was me graduating from like this hustle mindset to like wanting to actually grow a business. So yeah, a lot of my peers thought I was crazy. They still think I'm crazy. But I think that when you are around people who haven't been taught to want more, it can be very difficult to be in the same spaces with those types of people.
100%. And that's funny because people say you changed. But it's like, yeah, what do you think?
Yeah,
Like,
of course. I would hope I'm not the same girl from last year or yesterday. Yeah.
right. If you're not growing, you dying. So
Yeah.
talk to me though about how were you able to latch onto that? Because there's one thing, in my opinion, there's one thing to say, hey, I want more. But if your
Mhm.
environment, one thing that I always say is you can't heal in the same environment that makes you sick, right? That was one thing that
Mm.
I learned. And I was like, man, okay. And so when you try to get out of that environment, it's very
Mhm.
tough because that's your comfort zone. So
Right.
what were you able to latch on to that allowed you to say, nah, I don't got to keep reverting back. Like I can
Yes.
continue to go forward.
That's an amazing question. I would definitely say at the time I was dating this guy in high school, and he introduced me to computers. And at the
Mm.
time, we didn't have a home computer as a family. This was like when the internet were first starting off, and he introduced me to the computer, and I think from there I became curious because I was like, you mean to tell me this thing can play games? I can like chat with other people in other places. This is like Yahoo chat was popping, AOL chat, and like I can create my own username, and then back then Black Planet was popping. Like, I could
Right.
do all these different things. I could make me a cool MySpace page. So, like, when I wasn't working, I was thinking about using the computer. So, I think that if he wouldn't have introduced me to the computer, I truly believe I would probably have a ton of kids by now. I think that I would be still working a 9 to 5. And because I didn't really have a lot of people around me who inspired me to be greater.
Mm.
It's always like normal to be like, okay, I work my job, let's hang out, let's go to the club, let's drink, let's go out to eat, and that's kind of like a repeating thing. And so when you meet someone who introduce you into something that you ain't never heard of or never seen, this is why I believe that experiences are so important in life. I think
Right.
that when people say I don't know what my passion is or I don't know what my purpose is, I always want to know what kind of experiences have you had in life. Because if you've had a diverse array of experiences, it'll allow you to latch on and find things that typically wouldn't be in your scope because it's now being introduced to you.
So for you, live experiences is totally different. And it's so funny
Yeah.
that you bring it up because I had that nostalgia from when I first created my first username in AOL, right? You come home, you aim, oh
Yes.
man, it was, and then yeah, the chat rooms was a whole different world because for a young
Yeah.
kid being, you're talking to people from all over the world. And now it's obviously only scaled out there. But
Right.
once you start to go to conferences, once you start to meet people, that becomes a whole different thing, right? Because you're
Yeah.
going, and a lot of the times, what I tell my friends is like when they're like, "Oh, why are you going to this mastermind? Why are you going to this thing?" And they don't necessarily question why am I going, but they
Right.
already limit themselves to think they can't go. So I'm trying
Mm,
to pitch them on, listen, you got to understand once you get to these conferences, you're going to meet people in the hallways and that's where
right.
it grows. So for you,
Right.
was there ever an experience or
Mhm.
what was that first experience where you went to a conference and you really started to find your tribe and you were like, now I'm on to something?
I actually found my first tribe on Facebook.
Mm.
Before I went to a conference, before I got exposed to the online community, my first introduction to like online marketing or just being online, period, was watching YouTube. And then YouTube introduced me into like a membership site where you could pay a monthly fee. And in this group, people would talk about things that I didn't believe was true. They would say things like, I just made $10,000. I'm like, man, get out of here. That ain't
Right.
who's doing that? Like, get out of here. Like, this is not real. Like, I used to think that a lot of stuff like money claims were scams. Like, okay, whatever. And then I ended up joining a course. I don't want to talk about who the course is, but I ended up joining this expensive course. It was like $2,000. And when I got into the course, this was the first time that I seen on a global scale so many people making so much money. I did not feel like I was in the right place, but I knew I had
Mhm.
made the right investment. And even though I was there, I was learning. I was sucking it all up. Like I would literally be in that Facebook group 24/7, reading everybody's story, reading what everyone was saying, and really trying to figure out, okay, well, how am I gonna take what I'm learning and make it apply to me? I'm just a girl from Memphis. I'm just a girl who really don't know a lot of this stuff. A lot of this stuff is foreign to me. I'm just a graphic designer. I'm just a photographer. I'm just, I'm this creative person. Can a creative person make this kind of money? Because
Right.
as far as I'm concerned, I'm getting $50 for photo shoots. I'm getting $25 for flyers. So, to go from that to, oh, you can have thousands of dollars, you could be a six-figure earner. I wasn't even thinking about a million at that point. I could just make money.
Right.
All of this was foreign to me. And I had to kind of shift and ask myself, is it possible? And even though people say it's possible, because we hear this all the time, you can do it, you can make money, you can do this, you got it, you're amazing, you're brilliant. I don't care what nobody say. Until you're able to prove it for self, that's when it becomes real.
Right.
And when I began to put myself out there in the first 60 days online, I made over $20,000. And at that point, it was like, okay, what they talking about is real. Now let me dive in. Now let me make more investment. Now let me go to the conferences because I'm convinced I'm in. Like I believe it now. This got to be
Right.
legit.
Right.
Yeah,
And now everybody wants to know, first off, what was the product coming
yeah,
from your experiences? What was the product that you sold? And
yeah,
also, like, what did you do to create that income?
yeah.
Did you instantly know about having an email list or did
Yeah,
you
so
run
that's what I
paid
was being
ads?
taught in that course, like how to create an email list. So this is what happened. When I joined the course, I wanted to create products. I wanted to be a course creator when I first
Okay.
came online. But I didn't know what course to create first. So what I did was I pre-recorded a training on what I know. Like I said, I'm a professional graphic designer and photographer. So I only know the pretty stuff, the creative stuff. So I was like, I'm going to teach people how to build a premium brand, like really teach them how to get really good with their visuals. And so I created a like 16-minute training. I remember because I wrote a script. I had to make it perfect because I was like, I'm watching everybody else content. And I
Right.
remember, funny story, I remember recording a video and this girl sent me a DM and she was like, are you reading a script? I was like, yeah, like, of course, read a script. She was like, you could do better if you just had bullet points. And I'm just like, girl, the fact that
Wow.
this video is in the world is a blessing. Okay.
Right.
So I recorded the video. It's a 16-minute video. And at the time, I was using a tool called Lead Pages. Lead Pages is still around, but back then, they were the leading people with creating landing pages and things like that. That and MailChimp. So I connected the two. I recorded my video. I have a Mac computer, so I was using ScreenFlow. And I put together a cute little presentation. I recorded it. I was so nervous. I still got the video. It's funny when I go back and listen to it now.
And
But I
you gotta
recorded
send
the
that. That's a
video.
retro.
Yeah,
So many
it's
people will be
going
like,
down in
"Oh
the
my
history
gosh."
books. I'm like, this the video that put me on. So I recorded the video, created the slides, and I put it out there. And because I didn't know what the market wanted, like I didn't know what course to create, I
Mhm.
just used this as a training to be able to get on the phone with people. So I didn't know at the time I was building a funnel, by the way. So I created the presentation. I put the presentation on the landing page. And at the conclusion of the training, I didn't sell anything. I just said, hey, if you fill out this assessment, you can get a free call with me. That was it. That was the only ask. That's how I got my market research. And so people would take the call. They would fill out the assessment and they'd get on the phone with me. And I had like 40, 50 appointments. So I'm talking to people all day, everywhere. I'm talking about people from Brazil, people from Singapore. I'm talking to people from all over the globe because remember, this group is global. Like it's people from all over the world. It wasn't just people in the United States.
So
So
you
I'm
use
talking to
that group
people.
that you were a part of to
Yeah.
basically be your launch to your
Yes,
community.
absolutely, absolutely. And nobody in my hood or where I'm from wanted to know how to build a premium brand. They was like, "Girl, get out of here! You ain't talking about nothing." So I ended up, recording the video, and I got on the phone, and someone said on one of the calls because the calls were only like 15, 20 minutes, and she was like, "Audria, how do I work with you?" Now, mind you, I ain't got no product. I ain't created nothing. So I was like, give me a minute, give me about 2 days. I just made up some stuff. I was like, okay, how much money I want to make? And I said, what would you give for that? So I was like, I want to make $5,000 or $10,000. Now at the time, people call that high ticket now, but I've been doing that day one. Because in my mind, I'm just like, I'm going to get them everything I know in my brain. I'm going to build a website. I'm going to make all their social media graphics. I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. And I'm going to have two packages. One where I show you how to do it. That's 5K. Or one where I do it for you. That's 10K. And voila,
Mm.
I pitched it to her. And I will never forget. She said, oh, these are amazing prices. Can I test this out for about 3 months? Man, I lost it because now I have something to sell. Now, so everybody there after that call. So when they ask me what you got, look, I got the 5K package and the 10K package. And people started to sign up for this package. And I think that at that moment, I realized that I could create money on demand. I could literally engineer things. Now, at the time, I don't even want to tell you what the offer was because I would never do anything like that again with that price point. But I feel like I sold my soul, but it didn't feel like that back then because it was life changing. I had never made that
Right.
much money. I had never had anyone tell me that my prices were great. Like it was just a whole different energy and a whole different space. And it allowed me to show up differently that I hadn't been able to do previously. So that was the thing that like really changed the game for me and like stratosphered me into where I am now.
Wow. No, and I think that somebody else listening at this right now, they probably have that idea like, okay, what
Yeah.
do I got? I'm a part of all of these different Facebook groups, right? Maybe I could reach out to one of the moderators and one of the owners of that group and be like, hey, would you mind if I did a free training for somebody? And
Yeah.
at the bottom of it, I'm gonna create me a lead page or a ClickFunnels page or whatever else it might be. So that's a nugget right there that somebody's gonna come up off of this and they're gonna be able to create
It still
20,000,
worked. That
30,000.
strategy still worked.
Still works. And that's the crazy thing about it. So
Yeah.
many people in the online and the marketing world, they think that it's got to be so complicated because
No.
just like you said, you see these people with these really complex funnels and upsells, downsells, all these things. That one thing that I learned, and it was tough for me to really feel like it was true until I experienced it. But the best, just like what you said, it still works. You give one page and you have somebody book a call with you. And then
Simple.
from there, that's it. They're one-on-one. They feel like they're being acknowledged. They get their
Yes.
questions answered by you. And they're like, what do we got to do to keep this going? And you like, wow, let me get back to you tomorrow. Right?
Right.
You're like, okay, what'd she say? What'd she say? Okay, I got a 5K package. I got a 10K package. So
Right. That's all I do. Yeah.
that's all you got. So at what point did you ever talk to me about where you then, because I know I've heard you say that like you definitely believe in like coaching and
Mhm.
mentorship and you've been coaching. What point did you get a coach?
I actually didn't hire a coach until 2019.
Really?
So I started online in 2013, 14. That's when I brought my business online because I had already had a business. I had my photography business because I'm a professional photographer. I had my graphic design business. My husband and I had a juicing business. And then we also had a magazine called Love New Art. Now, mind you, none of that stuff was profitable, by the way. And I had to quit those things to really figure out like what's the missing link. Like these things are actually dope. Like why are we still getting pink notices? Why I got all these hustles and I'm still broke? And the
Mm,
common denominator was marketing, and that's kind of what brought me online is like learning all of these different tactics and strategies and really learning and mastering marketing. And so that's what got me to where I am now. But I got to a point where I felt like I needed a coach, and I hired someone in 2019, and it was an okay experience. I wouldn't say it was the best, but I do really good in like group programs. I really like group coaching because you get the mind share of everybody that's in the group, different people, different background, different experiences. But at this point, if I had to hire a coach now, it would have to be somebody like Marcus Lemonis. Like that's my guy, man. He's like my coach in my head. So I just watch all
prof,
his watch all his shows. Like that's far as coach, like I have yet to meet someone of his caliber that is diverse enough that knows about so many different business backgrounds. Like, have you ever watched The Prophet? Like, dude know about all the different industries. I'm like, how do he know this stuff? And so
right.
I think that's so fascinating that he has such array of experiences in different industries. So yeah.
No. I would definitely agree. And for me, it was a struggle. I'll be honest. When I first started to look into coaching, and not because I didn't want a coach, but it was just
Mhm.
because it felt like everybody who you needed, there was like such premium prices.
Yes.
And that was a struggle because if you come from a small town, and so I'm interested to hear your opinion on this, is because
Mhm.
you said like none of your people, you paid $2,000 for a course. How did you
Yeah.
get your mindset to say,
Actually, I
hey, I
did a
could pay
payment plan.
$2,000 for this course?
Yeah, so I did the payment plan, but
Okay.
I was sacrificing. Let me just say this. I'm so glad you asked that question. I was willing to be homeless for a change.
Mm,
And most people aren't willing to sacrifice on that level, right? Like I literally did not have, it was three payments of 550. All I had was 550, our rent. Mind you, my car note was due. So I was technically taking my car note money, insurance money to pay for the first payment in this course. And I
mm.
got in like my life depended on it because it did. And literally the rest is history. So I think that when we talk about making big investments or significant investments, I always tell people it's hard to explain. Does it make sense? Like it's hard to tell somebody, go hard, spend the money, because there is a thing you have to do with the relationship with money. Because everybody don't have a relationship with money, especially if you come from a place where you never had it, or you've always had to give it away, or you never had savings and things like that. So for me to go from never having savings, always being broke, could barely pay for bills, to investing into this course, man, I had some faith.
Right.
You know what I mean? I had some faith and I was willing to risk it all. And so when I talk to people like today, it's so funny you asked me that because I got an email today and someone was like, why is your program so expensive? And they don't know I've spent over $300,000 on coaching and consulting. And so what I'm asking for is pennies. But at
Right.
the same token, I had to realize they are where I used to be. And so I have to hold space and give grace and really kind of teach them like, okay, I can't really force you into that decision. It's kind of like you gotta know that
Gotta
now
know.
it's time for a change. And so for me at that time, I was tired of being broke. It was either make this investment and lose a little, because it's really not losing. At the time, I didn't really think about it as an investment. It was just like, man, I ain't got it. Let me just go and pay for it, see what happens. And it ended up being the best life decision ever. Like, I'm getting emotional thinking about it because I remember then we didn't have it. We legit
Right.
didn't have it.
Man. And so when you told your husband, like,
Mhm.
hey, I'm going to make this investment, I think that this is going to help to propel us in the next 3 months. Like, what
Mhm.
was that conversation? Because obviously he supported you through it. Y'all
Yeah.
started other businesses, but was
Right.
he hesitant as well? Or was he the
No.
champion? Like, no, you got to go do it.
No, my husband has all I know, like, I know a lot of women, their husbands are not supportive, but, like, my husband was super supportive. He was like hell, he pulled up a chair and was like, "Let's learn together." I think that oftentimes, especially sometimes when you're married, it's either one spouse wanna make the change and the other one is like, "What are you trying to do?" You know what I mean?
Right.
It's very rare that both parties come on board to make it happen. And so even though he didn't really understand it, he still supported me. You know, he was like, "You need to go get this workbook printed. You need to go watch the video. You're gonna stay up tonight and watch those videos. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go to sleep." Like, he really allowed for me to learn this new thing. Yeah.
That's super, super dope. And that's why I was telling you about the daycare. And I know all my tribe, they've heard about it. But for me, I've always been just like you, that entrepreneur. I'm
Mhm.
hustling. I'm always just trying to figure out why not. But then my wife, she
Right.
doesn't come from that at all. So when the opportunity for the daycare came about, I was just proud that I always say, don't get hyped for the moment and then start to
Right.
backpedal. Right.
Mhm.
And so she took it on. And so, man, it's so dope when you got that other half that you can get on board with you and they truly support you. Yeah,
And
I'm
they
I'm
don't think you
proud. I'm proud of
crazy.
him, proud of you.
Yeah.
So talk to me now. You've really been crushing it. Last 18 months, I mean, you're as hot as anybody in the content creation, marketing, business coaching world. Do you still suffer from imposter syndrome?
No. I don't think I ever have. And honestly, I didn't know what it was until last year when I Googled it. I'm like, "What is this?" But I
Because I mean, a lot of people, even myself included,
Yeah.
when you start to have
I've
that
had
type of success,
self-doubt, but I never thought of it like something was wrong with me. I've always
got it.
looked at that as a natural thing. It's a natural human thing to be scared, to be afraid, to not know. Like, to me, that's natural. That's not a problem. You know what I mean? It's just like if a tiger walked up in my room right now while we do this interview, the natural response is, "Ah!" You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, be confident. You got this. No, I'm hopping up out this chair and I'm
And
about
I'm
to get up
out.
out of here. So I just feel like, let me just say this. I don't think I've personally suffered from it based on what I've read, but I also, I've always been a risk taker. I've always
Mm.
been willing to bet it all and lose it all. So it's hard for me to kind of understand. So yeah.
Got it. I want to tackle that last part that you just said, but the only reason why I asked that is you made a point and you said, I've never thought something was wrong with me. And I don't think that when you talk about imposter syndrome, that people think
Mhm.
that, just my opinion, I don't think that people think that something's wrong with them. I think more so, I would associate imposter syndrome with fear of success, right?
Mhm.
Because a lot of the times people, like, I remember I had Jack Canfield on the show, and I've had other big time people, but Jack Canfield really stood out, and he was like, I still suffer with that every single day. He sold over
Mhm.
500 million copies of a book, and he's like, I'm always still feeling like one day somebody's gonna tap me on my shoulder and be like, the gig's up. Like, you
I
you
think
weren't
that's
really.
that's actually a good point, but I think this is one of the reasons why I have felt like that from time to time, but it has not been like a lingering thing, right? For instance, I just recently hired 2 employees, scared like nobody's business. And a lot of it had to do with, if I hire these people, can I afford to keep them? Or
Mm,
will I be removing them as quickly as I hired them? And so I don't really equate it to imposter syndrome. It's more so like, you got to do it, and you got to let the chips fall where they fall. And so I feel like if it's your time to be up, your time is going to be up, whether you're super prepared, whether you're successful or not. And I just feel like, if you like the 4 agreements, right? Your best is your best. And if you do your best, you don't have to worry about other stuff. And so I think that's why I don't get so caught up in it. It's like, okay, whatever. Let's keep it moving. Yes, I'm scared. Yes, I don't know if this thing gonna happen. No, if I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pay you the next 2 years, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
But
So
I'm gonna
that's
do it
just,
anyway.
yeah.
I love it. Now, for you, how much of a systems person are you? Because a lot of
Love.
times what we find is content creators, a lot of people, and have you ever read the book Rocket Fuel?
No, I haven't read that one though.
Guys, so fire book for anybody that's listening, I definitely highly recommend it.
I'm gonna
But
check that
basically
out.
they talk about that there's two types of people, right? There's visionaries and then there's integrators. Very few people are both. For you, which one would you consider yourself?
What was the first one?
A visionary,
Mm-hmm.
right? You see it all, and then there's the integrators. There's the people who make the trains run. Because the
I,
visionaries, they
I
don't want
I
to
really
do any
feel
of the
like,
implementing.
I know this is gonna sound crazy, but I feel like I'm both, and I think that's why it took so long to hire people. Because I
Mm,
can come up with a vision and make it happen because I have so many skills. I know how to design. I know how to do web design. I know how to write copies, build funnels. I know how to run ads. Like I literally know how to do a full-fledged marketing campaign by myself with no support. So maybe I got to read the book, but it sounds like I might be a hybrid
yeah, and you
based on
and
what you
he
said.
said he says very few people, but I definitely
Yeah,
think it's
yeah,
right up there with E-Myth, and a lot of other business books. So for anybody listening, and it's not too long of a read, so I would definitely encourage you to listen to it. I know you gave a strong recommendation. It wasn't even directly to me, but it was by Jia Jang, right? And it was Recession Proof. And right
yes.
when I saw that, you put that on your story, or I think you were actually doing a live
It's
in your
rejection
car.
proof. Yeah, it's called rejection proof.
Rejection
And
proof. What did I say?
yeah,
Recession proof?
yeah.
My friend, this pandemic got me going
Yeah,
crazy, right?
yeah, rejection
Rejection
proof.
proof, but I read it off of
Yeah,
that, off of your recommendation.
yeah. I love that book. Like hands down, that book allowed me to not take no so personal. And it
Mm,
also allowed for me to not sit around and let an opportunity pass without giving myself a chance to go at it. Because honestly, I feel like online marketing, real talk, lead generation, I feel like it makes us lazy. That's
mm,
just my own personal opinion because we have this notion that I'm gonna make money in my sleep. Let me build this thing. And so we go out loud, we spend all the money on the copy, we spend all the money on the design, we spend the money on all the tools, we put all the money into the Facebook ads, and then we go back and kick our hands up and chill out and be like, man, I can't wait till my checks start rolling in. And then you realize your copy ain't right, your graphics ain't good, nobody wants what you got, and now you back to square one. It's just
like,
not a
we had
good
people on the
feeling.
high, now everybody came right back down. They like, "Oh."
So I just feel like it's this notion that content creation, I'm not gonna have to do it. That used to be my thought process. If I create this amazing funnel, I ain't gotta go live. I don't have to be doing webinars, because I already created the thing. I already created the funnel. And the
Right.
truth is, no, you gotta feed the funnel. That ain't sleep. The funnel can't get fed while you sleep unless you're running ads. And most of the time, people don't have money for ads, or they don't have brand ambassadors, or they don't have affiliates. So, guess who's feeding the funnel? You feeding the funnel.
Mm. Yeah, and that's something that's a big one too, because I've even had conversations with people that have been like, "Yo," I've been one of those people too. Like even for webinars, like obviously everybody knows that I'm not afraid of the camera, but I've never wanted to really do live webinars every week, even though some of my best buddies they do. Nehemiah Davis, Pat Flynn, like you're always going live with them. But then you see people like Dan Henry or like Sam Ovens, and they never do live webinars.
Right.
So you're like, well, how is their business doing 100K a month and they got
Yes.
no live webinars? Everything's
Right.
automated. So that's
Right.
interesting. One question that I wanted to have, just going back one step, is you talked
Mhm.
about you know so many different things. And I think for a lot
Yeah.
of people who watch, who listen to the show, they feel like that they are, in a sense, a jack of all trades, because a lot
Mhm.
of the times there's a lot of things that they're exposed to that get them to come alive.
Right.
Funnels, marketing,
Right.
business, the whole nine. So for you, are you somebody who you are a focus on one thing person, like
No.
one thing, narrow minded, or you like
No.
we?
I'm a jack of all trades. I don't have no problem saying that. I don't see it as a negative thing. I am
Mm,
that person on the opposite side that embrace the jack of all trades. Now, I do believe that you should focus on one project at a time. That I do believe in, but I don't think you have to limit yourself or niche yourself to a particular thing. So I get a lot of slack for that. Like, no, I'm trying to get my people to focus. I'm like, it's not that your people can't focus. Let them be multi-passionate, but teach them how to project manage, because that ain't nothing but project
Mm.
by project by project. That's all it is. A lot of ideas are just projects. Just organize them by order of importance or by highest profitability and just roll it out. That's why you will notice that like people will start off with one business, kill it, crush it, and then they go and the next thing you know they got a whole portfolio of brands because they've learned how to master running one. It's just project management. That's all it is.
So much value right there. So much. I think somebody else listening to that, now that you brought them down, now they back up and they're like, okay, I can still be me. There's a little bit of hope for me at the end of the day. Let's talk about, before we get into kind of the fire rounds, like if you could give a high level overview, because you do this every single day with Unclone Marketing. Somebody comes to you, they have an idea, they have some experiences.
Yeah.
Is there a 3-step, 4-step high level overview of what someone should be doing to really even make their first $1,000 online? Like, okay,
Yes.
set up an email list, do this, do that. Is there anything like that in a
Yeah.
condensed version?
I'm gonna give you two versions.
Okay.
Like I'm gonna give y'all double fun. The first version is get money today formula. Okay. Literally, all you need is something to sell and someone to sell it to. And essentially what you need to do, you can go on Facebook. Hey, I am about to launch my brand new program. It includes this, and this. If this is something you're interested in, let's hop on the phone. Most people don't want to be that direct. They kind of want to nurture and move people into it. But the truth of the matter is, if someone see that and it identifies with them, they're going to reach out to you and get on the phone with you, right? Or if you want to ease yourself into it, you could say, hey, if you're struggling with this and you're looking for support on this, send me a DM. And then let the DM starts the cadence of you getting on the phone with them and then closing them into a coaching program. You can do that today. That's no funnel, no tech, no nothing. Now, if you like, I want to make a heap of money and I only want to do this one time, then webinars is going to be your jam. Webinars, live streams, or even a clubhouse. Have a really good topic, have really good conversation, present a really dope offer, and have a place for people to give you the money, preferably a checkout page. So you can use something like Samcart, Moonclerk. Most of these tools allow you to create little landing pages. You got ThriveCart, like all of these cool tools. Throw your stuff in there, put your price in there, have a way to deliver what you promised, and then voila, go get your money. Now, obviously, that's like sounds
Right,
super
right, right.
easy, but it is that easy. It is that simple.
It is. And I'm glad that you said that. That was one of the probably biggest eye openers for me. This was the first year I went to ClickFunnels, and it was Stu McLaren. And he was
Mhm.
on stage and he had talked about that. Like, and I seen his video afterwards because he linked to it. And he was like, if you want to know more about how this strategy works. And that was exactly what he said. Like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this.
Yes,
And if you
yes,
struggle with this and this and this, I think that it can help you. Send me a DM. And he was like, there you remove, because if you like drop a comment below and then
I
nobody
don't do
drops a
that
comment.
because you're gonna embarrass yourself. You're gonna mess around and get no comments, and then you're gonna think you're a failure. That's why I always tell people, you got an idea, just tell people to DM you. Because if you get 50 DMs, whoo, a dodge a bullet. But
Right.
if you get
Yo, and
nothing,
it's
your
so
feelings
true
gonna be
though.
hurt.
That's where a
Yeah,
lot of people, just like you said, you're gonna embarrass yourself. But the best thing about it is, if it doesn't work and then you do the DM, you can delete that post, come right back the
yeah,
next day, 6 hours later, come right back, and you just got to
yes,
get some different copy, right? So you're like,
exactly,
okay, this copy didn't work. I got to come up with a
exactly.
different
Split
copy.
test
Now
it.
DM me,
Yes,
and then they like, oh, he got all of the programs.
right.
You're
Like,
like,
oh,
yeah,
you
you
did
ain't
a
see the
whole other
first
program.
37.
Yeah. Because
No,
people
that's so
they getting
dope.
so many posts and stuff in their feed, they probably forgot already. Like, oh, and then you gotta allow for people, for instance, when I do promotions, you gotta send multiple emails, you gotta send multiple text messages because people inundated. Think about it. My inbox, one I barely checked, it got like 200,000 emails. That's a lot of emails. And so if you're not being, constantly responding to people and following up with them, you can get lost in the sauce, not, being afraid to promote your stuff. Tell people where you at. Tell them how to give you money. Don't be afraid.
I love it. I love it. And that's where anybody who's followed you or who will follow you, they're gonna see it all the time. I mean, unapologetically uncloning the game, right? That's super dope. Let me ask you, for all the wisdom that you have now, and I'm sure
Mhm.
you would say you're so much wiser than when you first started. We all are, because every day we're growing or we're dying. So for you, if you could look at it, and I know a lot of the times people say they wouldn't change anything because it got them to
Mhm.
where they are today. But if
Right.
there was one thing that you wish that you could have implemented sooner, that you
Mhm.
knew that would have helped you accelerate your growth on your path, what would that one thing be?
I would have hired people. I wouldn't have
Hired
quit.
sooner.
I would have graduated from the DIY mindset a lot faster.
But
I
people
feel like,
struggle with, how
yeah.
did you know who to hire?
I didn't. I just knew that I guess last year I feel like my business broke. I made the most money, but I also was broken as a person far as like when I
Mhm.
say broken meaning more so like energy wise, capacity wise. Like I can't take on anymore. If I get one more opportunity, I'm gonna explode. And that's supposed to be a good thing, but it wasn't a good thing because not because I didn't have the systems, but because I had a bad business model, right? I was doing all of these one-on-ones, which really could have been a group thing. It was just a bad business model. So if I had to, I know you said one, but if it had to be two things, it would be my business model and hiring help a lot sooner. I think those were the two revolutionary things that happened for me this year that allowed me to feel the most calm, the most zen, the most freedom, because I now feel supported and held up and I can think and I'm not like, trying to figure all everything out or do everything. So yeah.
No, I think that's solid. And that's another key point. I hope somebody picks that up, because I've heard that from so many dope people who I trust in life. And you just said it. It's the one-on-one versus the group model, right? That
Yes.
one-on-one is very hard to scale. I remember the first person who ever put me onto this, when it was Tiffany Aliche, right? The
Mhm.
Budgetnista. And she was like, yeah, I was doing everything one-to-one, and I just didn't understand that one-to-many was way better. She was like, I
Yes.
thought that this was the model. And so, and you've done that. I've seen that you did your Unclone Marketing Accelerator, and you could have said,
Yes.
hey, I'm taking on 5 one-on-one clients, but I think you offer that to the group. Am I right?
So, like, the way my business model set up now is I have my shop, which are for people who maybe can't afford to work with me one-on-one. And then I have my accelerator, which are for people who are like ready to accelerate their results in like 4 weeks or less. And then I have my mastermind, which you can't even get into the mastermind unless you come through the accelerator. So that's pretty
Mm.
much my business model. But the accelerator is group and the mastermind is group. There is no one-on-one. I eliminated one-on-one completely from my business model last year.
So would you say somebody just starting out, if they're listening at this and they say, well, I got to get started somewhere, are you going to say, hey, do a couple one-on-ones so then you can know and then
I
move,
think,
move
yeah,
it up?
because you don't have an audience. I always tell people like it's hard to create a group program when you only got 10 followers. No, do the
Mm.
one-on-one because it makes sense now. But as you get a bigger community, the quicker you can put 4 and 5 people in a group, go ahead and make the switch. But when you
Love it.
first starting out, absolutely, because there's a lot of data that you get from a one-on-one that you don't get in a group setting. Mainly because people are being more intimate. They're going to be giving you more information. They feel more comfortable, and it allows you to know your avatar a lot more deeply and more intimately.
Yeah. Super solid advice. If
Yeah.
you could have lunch or dinner with one
Mhm.
person dead or alive, who would that one person be? But more importantly, if you had an opportunity to only ask them one question, what would it be?
Man, that's like a double hard question. One
The first
person?
one is not too bad, but I like to get, because a lot of people have heard the first one. But when you
Yeah.
ask like that one question, what would
Yeah.
that one question be?
It would definitely be Marcus Lemonis. And the question I would ask him would be, how do you approach building a business? I would
Mm.
wanna know that. Like, how do he approach building a business? Because he's so diverse in his thinking and, like, how many businesses he wanna take on and why he wanna get in that industry when you're in the camping industry. You come out of the camping world. Why do you want a candy company? You know what I mean? What's
Right.
his thought process for, like, what he wants to put in his portfolio or be attached to? What's his reasoning for that?
I
Yeah.
love it. Who, besides Marcus Lemonis, who is a content creator that
Mhm.
inspires you?
Content creator. I watch a lot of YouTubers. I would definitely say ET, the hip
ET.
hop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just for the
Eric
motivation
Thomas.
piece, or
No, just his whole approach to how he create content as a whole, from events, his business model, his team. I'd like to watch content from people who have people that support them in a way where you know that they're like, obviously he not posting everything, but you also don't feel far removed from his content. So
Mhm.
I really, really do love his content. I get excited about his content for sure because it
Yeah,
motivates me. And it makes me be like, you know what? I ain't got to do all this stuff by myself. Like you seeing boss moves from an entrepreneurship perspective, but you also being motivated.
Right?
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. No, that is super dope. I'm a big fan of ET as well. I had an opportunity. I had Nikki on the show. Nikki
Love
obviously is a
Nikki.
part of his content team.
Yeah.
She's super dope. And
She's dope with content too.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was so dope about it is you and her, you found your own lane. So when you talk about Unclone, like no one's putting out content the way that she is, but no one's
No,
putting out
absolutely.
content the way that you are.
Right. And I think you
So
have to allow for diversity because our brand is all about individuality. People always
mhm.
say stuff like, I don't know how to stand out and stuff like that. And I always tell my clients, like, you become the obvious choice when you stop trying to be like everybody else. And it sounds like so cheesy and, oh, I heard that before, but are you really doing it? You know, because if you look at somebody post and as soon as you see it, all you can think is, I'm about to create the same thing. You cloning. You are cloning. You got to unclone yourself. What would you create? What is something that's missing in the world that you would want to see? You know, that's how we kind of get to the root of that.
I love it. Innovation. Innovation is the key to success. If you can figure
Yes.
out how to just make it a little bit better or add that missing piece, which is your secret sauce, that's where you become the magician of what people say. It's so dope. And you know, the person that came to my mind was just like Steph Curry, right? And I don't know why,
Yes.
but like he just added something that the world like we always knew shooters, but the way that he shoots, the way like now you got little kids like my son just they worship it, and he brought shooting to a way another level. People was
Oh,
already shooting at
absolutely.
basketball.
It's like when I see him, honestly, no lie, even if his team go lose, I always be like, they finna win. Cause I know because I know he know how to shoot
Man,
them threes. I'm like, y'all put him on there, y'all. It's lights out for y'all.
it's
So even
lights
if they're gonna
out.
lose, it's just this whole idea of knowing how great he is.
Man. Can you imagine? You know, one thing is, and I think it's gonna be dope. One day I'm bringing them on the show for sure. But can you imagine bringing his mom on the show and just her getting into her feelings about how hype she gets when you
Yes.
see your son shooting like that? I told you, we make it everything. Like, can
Yes.
you imagine her up
Confidence
in
on
press boxes?
5,000. Yes.
Oh yeah, she crazy. She get a couple drinks in her. She in the press box is going crazy.
Yes.
That man, no, it's good. This has been such a phenomenal conversation. I'm so honored that you came onto the show. Last question I got for you is for anyone who is super inspired, not only me, but super inspired by your journey, all the wisdom that you have, but they have that little voice in their head. And we all have it at times. And that little voice says that they're not strong enough, they're not
Mm-hmm.
smart enough, or maybe they just don't have enough resources. What's
Mm-hmm.
the one final thing that you would leave that person with to just get them to take action?
I would say start where you are. I think we're always trying to skip to 10 instead of just starting where we are. The process is the process, the journey is the journey. So enjoy it. You know, that's something I had to learn early on because people would say stuff like, you should know this person. You should know this person. I said, look, if it's meant to happen, I promise you, God ain't going to let me miss the opportunity. And I
Hmm.
continue my journey. And then every person I've ever wanted to work with, be a client or be on the stage with, we have crossed paths, we've exchanged phone numbers, and it wasn't even no pressure. It wasn't no like super fan, like spammy type of thing. It was just them coming into my world and saying, you dope, we need to know each other.
Right.
Like hands down all the time. It's crazy. So that's why I just enjoy the journey. So
I
yeah.
love it. I love it. Super, super dope, super insightful. For anybody who wants to stay connected with you, we're going to put all of the links in the show notes, but tell them personally, where can they find you at?
Yeah, you can find me as Audria Richmond across all social media platforms. And on social media, Instagram is my jam. So
Cool. Well, like I said, we're gonna make sure we put those links in there. I know for anybody who's looking to figure out how they can stand out from the crowd and they can make sure that they are, I don't even know, what do you call them? Unclonites? What do you call them?
we
What do
call
you
it
call your
Unclone
people?
Tribe. Yeah, we call them the Uns or Unclone Tribe.
Unclone tribe. Make sure that you stay up looking for the next accelerator. Make sure that you stay up looking for the next opportunity to be able to work with her, because I've been such a fan of your brand, and I'm sure many and more people will become that if they aren't already. So again, Dream Nation, just as you said, just start where you are, because that dream that you have, if you don't take some type of action, it will only merely be a fantasy. That's all for this one. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you for sticking with me and watching this video. Now, if you've gotten any value out of this video, I want you to do me a favor. I need you to make sure that you hit that subscribe button and also turn on those bell notifications. What that's gonna do is it's gonna tell you whenever I drop more heat just like this video. And make sure that you hit that like button because that's gonna let the YouTube gods know that more people need to be seeing this video. I appreciate you watching, and as a token of my appreciation, I dropped a couple more videos for you to take a look at in the meantime until I drop more heat. Remember, in the dream we trust, but you gotta take action. Otherwise, that dream that you have will only merely be a fantasy. I'll catch you on the next one.